The presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 presidential election, Mr. Peter Obi, has revealed how his younger brother business domiciled in Lagos was destroyed by APC. Mr. Peter Obi reviewed the incident on his social media account, and this is what he said. Any society where lawlessness overrides the rule of law is not destined to be a heaven for investors. Recent report showing that Nigerians' human rights indicators have worsened merely highlights severe shortfalls in government protection for civil liberties, personal security, and basic living standards. I know what I've been going through as a person in abuse of my human rights just because I contested a presidential election, which I have legitimate rights to do. So I imagine what small business owners, regular citizens, and vulnerable communities face every day. If this level of lawlessness can happen to someone with a registered company and legitimate means, what hope does the ordinary Nigerian have? This morning, that is yesterday, my youngest brother called me frantically, informing me that a group of people had invaded his company property in Ikeja, Lagos, and were demolishing the building. He had just come in from Port Harcourt and was denied entry to the property by security men who told him the building was being pulled down. They even informed him that this demolition had started over the weekend. As a peace-loving Nigerian, he quickly started processing to go to court immediately, not knowing what must have resulted in this, as they moved fast to destroy his home without any restraint. I rushed to Lagos from Abuja after the call this morning and headed straight to the property. On arrival, I was met by the security people who tried to bar me from entering the property. I humbly pleaded with them that the property belonged to my brother's company, and from the record, the company had owned the property for over a decade. They told me they had a court judgment, and I immediately requested it. You will not believe that the court judgment they claim was issued against an unknown person and squatters. I went further to ask about a demolition order or permit, and there was none. How do you sue an unknown person? How does a court issue a judgment in such a farce of a case? No one was served, no name was written, yet they show up with excavators and began destroying a structure that has stood for over 15 years. I immediately asked the excavators for the person who had sent them, and they said they didn't know anyone, but they were only informed to come and demolish the house. I immediately told them to tell whoever it is that I would like to speak with them if they can call my number, which I shared with the excavators so that I can speak with whomever gave them the order to demolish the property. I stood there from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. waiting to get a call at least, and nobody called or came. The contractor even said he didn't know who sent him. 2 men later came and said they would like us to go to a police station. I asked if they even had a demolition order, but they had nothing. The whole situation screamed of coordinated lawlessness and impunity. Our country has become lawless. I just started reminiscing about how just over the weekend, I had a meeting when someone told me how he has investment in Ghana, Senegal, and the Benin Republic, but won't touch Nigeria despite his market being here. I asked him why. His answer was piercing. Nigeria is a lawless country. Until we have laws that protect people, nobody will invest in Nigeria. I am just shocked. How did Nigeria get to this level of lawlessness? What kind of country are we trying to build when the rights of citizens, their lives, their properties, and their voices are trampled upon daily? I remain committed to a better Nigeria where lawlessness will be a thing of the past, protection of life and property, respect for human rights, care for the less privileged, and basic education for all children. A new Nigeria is possible. P.O. This is disturbing and heart-wrenching. These anguished words of Mr. Peter Obi, a man who dared to challenge the APC in the 2023 presidential election, it lays a bare and a chilling truth. This administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu well states power, not to serve the people, but to crush those who stand in his way. From the demolition of properties to the harassment of activists, the suppression of communities, and the strangulation of dissent, the APC and Bola Ahmed Tinubu have turned Nigeria into a battleground where opposition is met with ruthlessness. This is not just politics. It is a deliberate, heart-wrenching assault on the dreams of millions, a betrayal of the nation's soul. Peter Obi's account of the demolition of his brother's property in Ikeja, Lagos, is a heart-wrenching illustration of how far the APC will go to punish those it perceives as a threat. A building legally owned for over a decade by a registered company was reduced to rubble without warning or due process. Peter Obi's voice, heavy with disbelief and pain, recounts his brother's frantic call, describing how security forces and excavators descended on the property like vultures, tearing it apart over a weekend without a shred of legal justification. When Peter Obi, a VIP, rushed from Abuja to Lagos, he was met with hostility. Security men barred him from entering, brandishing a supposed court judgment against an unknown person and squatters. No name was served, no demolition permit was produced, and no one took responsibility for the destruction. This scene described by Mr. Peter Obi is one of calculated chaos. Excavators operating under the orders of faceless powers claim ignorance of who sent them. For hours, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., Obi stood at the side, pleading for answers. His phone number shared in a desperate bid to speak with whoever orchestrated this attack against his younger brother. No one called, no one came. The contractors, cloaked in anonymity, and two men who later appeared offering only a vague suggestion to go to a police station, had nothing to show. No demolition order, no legal basis. This wasn't a mistake. It was a deliberate act of intimidation. A message to Mr. Peter Obi and his family: oppose the APC and you will pay a price. As Peter Obi laments, if this level of lawlessness can happen to someone with a registered company and a legitimate means, what hope does the ordinary Nigerians have? His words cut deep, echoing the fears of countless citizens who live under the constant threat of a system that protects the powerful and punishes the powerless. Mr. Peter Obi's ordeal is not an isolated incident, but part of a broader, sinister pattern of persecution against opposition figures. The APC and Tinubu have repeatedly used state power to silence the voice of dissent, targeting anyone who dares to challenge their grip on power. Consider the case of Dele Farotimi, a lawyer, a huge voice in the society, who was weeks away from his home from Lagos to Ekiti State by the security forces. He was incarcerated without any court order. He was locked up for speaking up against the government. Look also at the case of Dino Melaye, a vocal critic and former senator, whose Abuja residence was raided in 2023 under flimsy pretext of tax evasion and illegal structures. Armed security forces descended on his property, intimidating his family and disrupting his life with no clear legal basis for the intrusion. Melaye, a prominent PDP figure, has faced relentless harassment, from harass to prolonged legal battles, all designed to break his spirit and silence his voice. The APC and Bola Ahmed Tinubu vindictiveness extends beyond high-profile figure to entire communities, particularly those suspected of supporting opposition parties. In Lagos, Tinubu's political stronghold, the demolition of homes and livelihoods has become a weapon of control. We all saw the destruction of homes and properties in Lagos immediately after the election, when Bola Ahmed Tinubu was heavily defeated in Lagos State. This is a heartbreaking example. Thousands of residents, mostly poor people and traders, watched helplessly as their homes were razed down. No compensation was offered, no alternative housing provided. These people, because of their support of opposition parties, was left homeless, their cries drowned out by the roar of bulldozers. The pain of mothers clutching their children amidst the rubble, the anger of fathers who lost their means of survival, and the despair of youth who saw their future crumble. These are the human cause of a government that rules by fear. You saw what happened to Landmark Beach. Because of his tribe, A $200 million investment was destroyed by the APC and Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration. The excuse they gave, they wanted to site a coastal road project across that ecosystem. That beach was destroyed. But now, the coastal road project has been realigned not to pass through that same place they destroy. They destroy a $200 million investment because they are scared. The APC assault on Nigerians' democracy goes beyond physical destruction to the systemic undermining of democratic institutions. The 2023 election, which brought Tinubu to power, were marred by allegations of voter suppression, intimidation, and manipulation. The Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), meant to be an impartial arbiter, faced accusation of complicity as results were delayed, altered, or outright falsified in some areas. Obi himself has spoken of the abuse of my human right simply for exercising his constitutional right to contest the presidency, a right that should be sacred in any democracy. The judiciary, once a beacon of hope for justice, has also been weaponized. The mysterious court judgment cited in the demolition of Obi's brother's property is a case in point. How does a court issue a ruling against an unknown person and authorize the destruction of a legally owned property without serving notice? This is not justice. It is a perversion of the legal system, a tool to punish enemies without accountability. Across the country, opposition figures face frivolous lawsuits, trump-up charges, and bias ruling, all designed to tie them up in endless legal battles and drain their resources. The APC vindictive tactics have consequences far beyond individual victims. They are strangling Nigeria's economy and future. Obi's reflection on a businessman who refused to invest in Nigeria is a dagger to the heart. Nigeria is a lawless country, the businessman told him. Until we have laws that protect people, nobody will invest in Nigeria. This is not an exaggeration. The demolition of legitimate businesses, the harassment of opposition figures, and the impunity of state actors send a clear message to investors. Nigeria is not safe. The World Bank's 2024 report on ease of doing business ranked Nigeria abysmally low, citing corruption, insecurity, and lack of legal protection as key barrier. When a man like Obi, with his impeccable record as a businessman and former governor, can watch his family's property destroyed without recourse, what hope is there for the small entrepreneur or the foreign investors? The economic toll is devastating. Nigeria's unemployment rate hovers above 33%, with millions of youth trapped in a cycle of poverty and despair. Foreign direct investment has plummeted, with companies like Shares and ExxonMobil scaling back operations, citing an unpredictable business environment. The APC obsession with crushing opposition has created a climate of fear, driving away the very resources Nigeria needs to thrive. Every demolished building, every harassed citizen, every suppressed voice is a nail in the coffin of Nigeria's economic dream. Nigeria stands at a precipice. The APC and Tinubu relentless targeting of opposition figures and communities is not just an attack on individuals, it's an assault on the very idea of democracy. The demolition of properties, the harassment of critics, the suppression of voters, and the perversion of justice are all pieces of a larger strategy to consolidate power at the expense of the people. But Nigeria is bigger than any one party or leader. It is the hope of 200 million people, the dreams of children yet unborn, the resilience of a nation that has survived wars. The time for silence is over. Every Nigerian, whether a market woman in Lagos, a farmer in Benue, or a student in Kano, must raise their voice against this tyranny. We must demand accountability, transparency, and respect for the rule of law. We must stand with someone like Mr. Peter Obi and countless unnamed victims of the APC wrath. Their pain is our pain. Their fight is our fight. Together, we can reclaim Nigeria's soul, building a nation where no one is punished for daring to dream, where justice is blind, and where democracy is more than a word, it's a way of life. A new Nigeria is possible, but only if we fight for it with every ounce of our hearts. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.